Okay. Hello, everyone. This is the December 8th community call. You'll notice that we don't have Nick on the call today, so I'm sorry to break all your hearts. I know you'll be fine just waiting another 7 days. But a couple of short updates. One is we have a new feature for Tellor called Lens that Krasi is going to describe in a moment. And another upgrade that we're working on, you could call it a fix, to the way that the difficulty is adjusted in our network we're working on. And JG is just hopping in now, and he will go over that. Other than that, Brenda, do we have anything else in addition to that to update everybody since last week?
No, not in terms of updates.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Otherwise, it's full steam ahead for us. So why don't we just jump in? And I think Lens is really cool. Krasi, you want to describe what Lens
Sure.
is? I can go ahead and.
Yeah, share your screen because it will be easier if we just show it instead of describe what it does. Basically, instead of adding lots of getters to the main Tellor Oracle, we decided to move some of these getters to like a completely separate contract. And it basically exposes some internal state of the Oracle, like the current owner, and lots of internal variables that are not easily exposed from the actual Tellor Oracle contract. And once Mike shares his screen.
Of course. You guys saw me share my screen on our earlier call. Now my computer is telling me I don't have
the most useful one that I think we'll show a couple of most useful ones that will be. Okay, it says now I'm the host. Okay, let me see if I can share. Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Let me see if it's that one. Yeah,
cool.
There it is.
We got it.
So probably one of the most useful ones for the miners is this one, current reward. This basically shows what's the current reward if you submit a solution right now. And you can see like lots of, almost all of the variables inside Tellor are exposed here. And another, another useful one is this one. Now last new values. Basically, this allows you to get historical data instead of getting just the last value. You can say, okay, I want the last 10 values for a request ID 1, which is Ether to USD dollar, and this will return the last 10 values, which opens new use cases where you can make charts to show the historical changes for a given symbol or given currency. And then we're already using this in a small API server that we're running. And you can see, for example, if I want the last 100 values, it's like instant. Even the last 1,000 values for Ether versus USD, you can get all of these in a convenient JSON format. So you can build graphs based on that API. And this was possible with the actual Tellor Oracle contract, but this is just more convenient and a lot faster. Instead of making like lots of requests to the Tellor Oracle, you can make a single request and you can see it's like almost instantaneous. And then the roadmap is we can add lots of other getters into this without actually needing to upgrade the Tellor Oracle contract, which is quite convenient because it's expensive and it goes through voting. And this one is like almost doesn't cost anything. And if anybody has any idea, we can definitely consider it and add it to the Lens project. And I think that's it more or less. Try using it, give us feedback, and that's it. We'll take it from there.
Cool. All right. So up next, JG will take us through the difficulty fix that we're working on. JG, will you give some context to the fix and sort of what's currently happening on the miner and why we
Sure.
sort of had to tinker around with this?
What is currently happening right now is that someone is mining slots 1 to 4 very fast. They happen within less than a minute. And then the fifth slot, which is like we usually have 5 slots, so to mine a Tellor block, and the fifth slot is taking quite a lot of time because it's an expensive slot, and the gas prices need to be lower than the current reward. And then so the times between like each block is way higher than the target, which is 5 minutes. And that's why the difficulty keeps decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, and nowadays I have almost near zero difficulty. So the problem is that like these people that are like mining the first 4 slot, we think they are actually watching the main pool to see incoming transactions, and they are able to mine faster than everyone else, and which makes kind of an unfair scenario because it's a small group of miners that basically monopolized slots 1 through 4. And so basically our current plan for fixing it is just basing the difficulty on this 4th slot. So the way it is right now, we calculate the difficulty in like how long has been since the last block. So it's higher than 5 minutes, we decrease the difficulty. If it's lower than 5 minutes, we increase the difficulty. So it's always quite near 5 minutes. But what we're going to do today, instead of looking at the 5th slot to define how if the difficulty should increase or decrease, we'll be looking at the 4th slot. So the scenario it is right now, for example, if the first 4 blocks are mined very fast, the difficulty will slowly increase until you reach more or less 4-minute block times within the 4th slot. And in addition to that, since we're basing the difficulty on the 4th slot, we are also gonna set the difficulty of the 5th slot to 1 or 0, meaning there's no difficulty, so anyone can mine it. And the defining factor of like when the fifth slot will be mined will be basically the reward against the gas cost of the network at the time. So that's it. In that way, we expect like to revert these like monopolization of the first 4 slots, and will be more evenly distributed as the difficulty increases. And this as well, I think it will somehow decrease the time for the 5th slot towards closer than the actual gas cost of the operation.
Yeah, so basically the change is going from calculating or adjusting the difficulty based on the time from the fifth slot to the 5th slot. Now it's going to be based on the time that it takes to solve the 4th slot. So.
And
this is important because we want our miner to work as intended.
yes.
And it currently isn't. It's not that, I know we're calling this a fix, but it's not like our system is broken. It's just not quite working as we intended. People figure out ways to sort of.
Some people are not playing it fair.
Some people figure out a new way to play the game. And so it's kind of like a chess match, I guess, with them, which is, it's why it's important to be able to upgrade these things.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right, so that's what we're working on in terms of new improvements to Tellor. There's of course a lot of other things that we're working on as well that we're not ready to go into at this moment. But if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask in the chat or the Telegram or the Discord in the next coming days, and we can, a lot of you guys are gonna be watching this on a recording, so feel free to follow up with us about either Lens or the difficulty fix. I guess we could move into the questions now. We had a bit of a snafu, I think, with this week's questions. We may have submitted the wrong link on Twitter, And then we were sort of late to sort of get the right link out. So we don't have a ton of questions submitted this week. We just have 3. So either that or you guys are slacking off. So I don't know what it is, but let's just jump into these 3 that we have. The first one is, what projects in this space would you like to work with? Well, I think you could name a ton off the top of your head. I think, and you guys can chime in too. I think we would love to work with the who's who of DeFi. In our minds, the question is are those some of the larger projects? And we've mentioned this before, like they've become so big, it's hard for them to fully decentralize or sort of have the incentives to make a big change to their protocol, like an Oracle change. And so, we're hopeful that projects like, like the makers of the world will one day be open-minded to projects like Tellor. But other than that, we're focused on the next crop that have been coming out this year and the ones that are coming out early 21, that are sort of rethinking these things, and they're thinking about a just fully decentralized Oracle from the get-go. So so I don't know that I didn't really name any specific names, but
Yeah. But we're definitely open to working with any existing projects that are willing and trying to go, to move into a decentralized, introducing more decentralization into their protocols. So, we have Tellor, and obviously we want users for Tellor, but we've also been working on other types of implementations, and we're always happy to brainstorm and try and help other projects either move in that direction or from the get-go, get started on that direction.
Yep. And without going into name dropping or whatever, we have noticed over this year a lot more projects are looking into diversifying, if you will, their Oracle. It's no longer just a world where you're going to just use Chainlink or you're just going to use your own centralized Oracle. Now projects are, they're thinking about many more options in their design phase. And so we're having a lot more conversations, a lot more people are reaching out to us about using Tellor, and it takes time to actually implement these things and for them to build their projects. So, we got to be patient, just like everybody else.
And make it right, not just implement something, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So does anybody have any other questions in the chat?
What is the meaning of life?
I can't
There's
see.
an interest. When will Tellor upgrade to proof of stake?
Yeah, we get some questions in the chat, but the next question the next question in the document here is when are we going to move to proof of stake? That's if we'll move to proof of stake. So
it's already 1/5. The fifth slot is already proof of stake. So it's 1/5 already.
Good point. Yeah. So can you elaborate on that? Like why with this new fix, the 5th slot is kind of like a proof of stake slot?
Yeah, it's what Jay just said. Because of the gas cost on the 5th slot, it makes it the time box is increased because of that 5th slot, and because it costs more. And now we are removing the difficulty at all. So there is no difficulty for the 5th slot. So you don't have to mine anything. You can just submit the solution. And like JJ said, this will be a game on the gas price. The person willing to take the least profit will submit the 5th slot.
Yeah.
So that's it. 1/5 we already there. 20% already there.
Yes, there we go. We're 20% proof of stake. Big news.
And Lens actually now provides a way for miners to track the profitability of their submissions.
Yes, this is already in the miner, but now with Lens it makes it easier because you have this convenient function exposed. So anybody can just call it and knows whether the next submission will be profitable or not.
Awesome. And then
So yeah, well, just to wrap up that conversation about proof of stake, I mean, I know we've mentioned this is a possibility in the future. You know, we do like proof of work for what it offers, and you know, we'll continue to. There'll be a decision at some point whether or not it makes sense. You know, like we do everything, we do things that make sense. We don't do it because, you know, if we move to proof of stake, it could be this big announcement, and people would, you know, rush to buy TRB perhaps on the news of it moving to proof of stake, but it won't last if it doesn't make sense, if it's not safe, if it doesn't make us more secure. So if we do move to proof of stake, it'll be when it perfectly makes sense. And that really could be a possibility for sure. What's the last?
and the next question is for the V2.6 vote. Will you tell the community the time for the snapshot, or is it bad for security of the vote to reveal the time of the snapshot? Many holders have tokens on exchanges or on Ledger Wallet, and they couldn't vote for V2.5.
Yeah. Yep.
So the way that updates work for Tellor is we do the tips, the Tellor improvement proposal plans. We definitely want the community to be able to vote. The very first thing that we do to initiate a vote is a tip, and then it takes the snapshot when the actual proposal is done on Tellor. So it's going to be a proposed fork every time we update. That's what it's called, but that's the function that we run, and that's when it takes the snapshot. We definitely do try and tell people, sort of give you guys a time frame to when we estimate that we're going to be done with the code and the updates. And I think that's, you know, around that time, we'll definitely let you guys know. We want you to vote. We want you to be, you know, vote on everything that we do. So
Yeah,
we'll let you
we
guys
definitely
know.
I think we could have done, there's a lot of things we could do better. And I think we learned a lot from our first TIP process. There was a lot going on then, and we really wanted to get that upgrade out. And the snapshot issue, and we realized how many of our community actually kept their tokens on exchanges. And luckily we had so much support that it wasn't an issue. That we had enough people for the vote, but it was a concern at some point. We're like, oh crap, like not enough people can vote for this, that it might not go through. And so to your points, Buddy, I think we can do a better job this time around, just having a little bit more leader, or, announce it a little earlier. I don't know how you feel, Brenda. I don't think there's any sort of security issue with letting people know about that snapshot.
No, I mean, the way the votes work, the snapshot's going to be taken, and then that's how much your vote is going to be weighted against. So whether it's you voting or you sell them, then, you know, that's where you're going to be the one voting.
Cool. Last question in the form is, with all the mergers and acquisitions in crypto, what projects could buy up Tellor, or would Tellor want to buy? I like that. It's not just about them buying us, but I guess we're big enough now to consider acquisitions and mergers. I don't know. I don't know what all the mergers and acquisitions in crypto you might be referring to, whoever asked this question, except for, I guess there's been some with Wi-Fi lately. I guess my thought, I was reading a little bit about what was going on with those mergers, and it's one of those things where in crypto, it's kind of like a gray area of what an acquisition is or a merger is in a decentralized world. Like, how would you merge or acquire Tellor? Like, I guess we have a corporate entity, but what do you get with that corporate entity? We would have to acquire our tokens that we have. And then it'll only get you so far because we have decentralized governance. And so the real, and this is the whole point of decentralizing our protocol, is that it's kind of like the community owns it. And so it's very difficult to have like these classic acquisitions or mergers. I guess what we've with the Wi-Fi projects, they were, situations where like dev teams were merging to work on a common, like combine efforts. Maybe that's something that could happen in the future. But I feel like it's more going to be about collaborations and partnerships and sort of pooling dev resources. If we ever wanted to do that, if we met another team that was working on something really similar, or working on something that we wanted to also work on, just sort of combine powers, and that I guess would be a bit of a merger, without it having to be like this legal agreement. I don't know. Who would we
Yeah,
want
definitely.
to buy that, Brenda?
I want to buy Maker.
You want to buy Maker? Okay. Why not? Hey.
Yeah, I'm feeling could
Yeah.
do stuff better, but it's fine.
Well, if we're just doing wish list here, I mean, I like privacy, and Star Wars seems to be really great. We were doing some work with them, so that would be nice because it's a complementary type of technology that I think would be really great for
Yeah.
some pretty cool use cases.
You said
But either
Same on
working
my
with
side,
them or
Tellor,
yeah.
Quite interesting technology, yeah.
cool. Any more questions in the chat? No, we're good. Yeah, so you guys let us know who you want us to buy, and then we'll look into it. Community vote. Who do we acquire?
We can
We
create
leave the
like
question open.
a
Yeah,
fund,
Yeah.
and you can donate money for the acquisition.
there we go. Tellor fund.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you only spend your money if we actually buy someone. So if we cannot buy anyone, we just give back. It might be a
True.
good way to raise a community fund to buy maybe Maker or Consensus.
Oh, all right. Well,
Consensus, is that what you said?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Dream big, why not?
we're gonna do a Tellor
Yeah.
fund to get JG a new microphone,
That would be good.
because we just want to
I
hear
haven't,
feedback
we're
to be
gonna
more
try
clear.
it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess
Well.
I guess that does it. Thanks for your questions, whoever were those three people out there, and hopefully we'll get some more questions next week. I'm sure we will bounce back like we always do.
Yeah. And if you really wanted to ask a question and it was our fault because of the form, go to our chat on Telegram. We're pretty active there, or Discord.
Yep. Just blame Alari. It usually works. Anyway, so all right, guys. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.